I do have some questions that people have sent in. Oh no, I'm losing a button. Fudge.
No one has seen it. Great.
For safekeeping for later. So yeah, I do have some questions that people have sent in, but I thought that first we could just talk about the Christmases of our childhood.
Okay. Do we have many?
How many childhood years did you have?
Oh, I don't know.
So how do you remember the Christmases in your childhood?
Well, we had kind of like a standard Christmas routine, which was like on the 24th in the morning or before lunch, my parents would just, or my mom mainly would just lock herself up in the bedroom, I think it was, and was doing the wrapping and stuff. My dad would cook, and I'm not even sure what I did, playing around or so, I don't know. But then we would have a noon nap, and after the noon nap, around 4 o'clock, I think it was, when then music would start, and we had the same vinyl playing every year. And it starts with as now, I'm not sure if you can hear that in the background, the church bells ringing, and that was the same thing like on the vinyl. So the first track was just the church bells, and then it was a Christmas album, which was really cherished by my parents, and I started loving it as well. And that was a sign for us kids to be able to come to the living room, and then there would be the presents under the Christmas tree, and my parents would have just had a couple of cakes on the sofa table, and we would come in and we would bring our presents for our parents, and then the unwrapping may started, and once everyone was disappointed about their presents, now everybody was happy, obviously, there was then some time to play, and then it was like 2 hours period, around 6ish, we would have dinner, and the Christmas Eve dinner, the 24th, would always be something very simple, like visually and potato salad, for example. That would be like a standard 24th dinner. And the comprehensive Christmas meal, like the roasted duck and red cabbage and stuff, that would be on the 25th for lunch usually. And we wouldn't travel. It was not like a thing back then to travel to grandparents on that side or on that side, mainly because they were also living fairly far away. So my grandmother on the mother's side, so I had 2 grandmothers on my mother's side. One was somewhere, I don't know, 20, 30 kilometers away, which is not too bad, and the other one was like almost on the other end of the country. And on my father's side, they already died fairly early in the late 80s, so that was not really a thing anyhow. So we had Christmas just within this small family, so I never had that experience of large family Christmas. It was just really core family, parents and kids, and we never had that travel maze that came up then later. So what I knew from other families, where I just said, oh yeah, oh god, it's so stressful, we have to travel on the first Christmas day to there, and the second Christmas day to there. Wow, that sounds exhausting. So we never had that.
But when did you decorate the Christmas tree?
I think that was an activity on the morning of the 24th.
You did it together?
Yeah, that was a family thing together.
But also when you were small?
I don't remember that far back, actually. I mean, I don't even remember properly the Christmas tree decorating, but I think I recall something of that was so we had the Christmas tree standing in the flat for a couple of days already, so like a week or so, but it was just the plain green tree, and then it would be decorated. And then later on, my parents switched to an artificial tree, to not buy a needle tree every year, and that was then unpacked and unfolded on the morning of the 24th, yeah, and then decorated. So that was then the thing.
And what did you get as presents?
Oh gosh.
Do you remember any of your presents?
I remember one present because it was an active process of convincing my parents to get it, and that was an RV race car. And I remember we had, I think, a day before Christmas Eve, a big scene in the family that something happened, and I was the accused of being responsible for that, and the punishment would have been to not gift the race car for Christmas. And I prepared already a racetrack on a large wooden plank, like a real big sheet, and I was drawing a racetrack there, and I was playing later, figuring out that it was way too small for that race car, which was like a proper big thing. But that was really a thing, and I didn't do it, and I don't even remember what it was, but I know I didn't do it, and I tried to explain my parents that it doesn't make any sense because of reason A, B, C, D, whatever. Eventually I got it for Christmas, and then figuring out that the racetrack was too small, but that's like the only thing. And that's really the thing. Like, I don't remember any Christmas present, but I do remember the time we spent together.
Yeah, it's the same for me. Like for us, when we were small, my parents would always take us on the 24th to either set of the grandparents. And when there was snow, then my dad would just pull us on the small sleigh. And then we would spend a day together while they decorated the tree. And
oh, so the tree was then a surprise.
Yeah, so like for us, the angel brought everything, like the tree and the presents and everything. And then in the evening, my dad would come to pick us up, and then both sets of grandparents would also come to our place, and we would have the opening of the Christmas trees all together. And then when we were small, our Christmas tree, I don't know how tall is my parents' living room, but it's like, what is it, like 6 meters in the back?
The whole thing, yeah.
And the Christmas trees back then reached to the ceiling.
Holy crap.
Yeah.
That's tall.
So when
that's then filling out the entire corner, so you have difficulties to get up the stairs.
Yeah, like you had to really
Holy
go
crap.
around the tree. And when I was small, I was like, yeah, that makes sense because the angel can fly. So she has no difficulty decorating the tree. But then later on, when I figured out that my parents are doing it, I was like, how?
That must be a pain with a ladder and putting
on the ladder and from like the balcony.
But that's
and
dedication.
Just, exactly. Yeah, but also then when I knew already that my parents are buying the tree and the gifts, I thought that they do all of that on the 24th. So like they go into town, buy the things, I go home and decorate. Yeah, but that was on the 24th. Then we had like all the grandparents were also there, and we would open the presents. And I only remember one present, and it was much later on. I was a teenager already, and I only remember it because it was like a huge disappointment for me. Like my parents got me like some purple leg warmers, and I felt like it's not my style at all, and they don't even know me. No, it was like a knitted one.
Oh, okay.
But just, like one without the feet, so it's like the ones that dancers wear.
Yeah.
And I was like, they don't even know me, so they must not even love me. It was like a whole thing. But then after that, I wore it actually. But that's the only thing I remember.
But where would they hide the tree until the
That's
24th?
A very good question. I have no idea.
I mean, 5-6 meters, that's a lot. And I don't recall many places in your
somewhere
place
in the back, probably. Yeah. Where we wouldn't go.
No, I don't know.
Or maybe because we would not go there as kids, I guess. Yeah, but it's like we have some recordings of Christmases back then, so those are nice to look back at. Like there's one which we rewatch very often because it's very funny, because my sister must have been like, I don't know, 4 or so, and she would go under the tree and bring out every present and like, whose is this? Whose is this? Whose is this? But like in a very like a hyper and a high-pitched voice, and I was like, then I was just checking it and then maybe unwrapping it, or if I could tell right away whose it is, then I would give it to everyone, but like in a very, I'm a grown-up, like, here you go, here you go. It's like, oh my God, when you rewatch it now, it's just like so embarrassing. But yeah, I mean, it must have been
part of the process.
Yeah, exactly.
Up, so.
Must have been fun for my parents. And then I don't remember if it was on the 25th or the 26th. I think it was on the 25th that we would go to church all together then, because we would recite poems after the mass, after the festivities, and then we would all get packages. And then we would all go to my grandparents on my mom's side, because there were like a lot of uncles and aunts and cousins, so everyone would gather together, and then we would have like a second celebration there and get another set of presents.
Pictures, yeah.
Yeah, and then we were small. My grandma would like put us in a line. It was how many of us? 7?
Yeah.
So she would put us in a line, like in
size.
Or like in age, and just hand out all the presents. Oh, and I do remember one thing about my sister Marti, because she always wanted the boyish toys when she was small. Like she always asked for cars or racetracks or stuff like that, and she got like, I think a puppet, like a doll, from my grandparents one year, and she was very upset about it, and then she wanted the boys' presents.
But that's also a very interesting theme. You, as a child, you learn to pretend enjoy presents if you don't like them, because it's kind of expected of you that you're not disappointed because someone made an effort, and find that just in retrospect very, very difficult. But another thing, when you sat on the 25th, you would go to the mess. Every now and then, I think very rarely, I think I can remember 2 occasions, there would be a Christmas or a Christmas Eve's mess in the Dome in central Berlin, and that would be like a big event. And my family is absolutely not religious, we're absolute atheists, so I've been in church for sightseeing purposes, but not for proper services. But then we went there, and that was just a whole event. I mean, how's it called? It's not a priest, it's the higher... What were the guys who elect the Pope? Forgot the title. Cardinals. Oh. And we have a cardinal in Berlin, and he's like the head of the Dome, and he would do the Christmas Mass, and he was really so that Christmas Mass, that was really impressive. And then most people obviously knew what to sing, and having then this whole choir in the church was the first time for me to realize the acoustics of how churches are built. And that was just really, I still get goosebumps on that. That was really impressive as a child. Occasionally, I think twice or 3 times, I've witnessed like a service for Christmas, but no, not that much.
Yeah, well, with the presents, we would write letters to the angel.
Really?
Yeah, and
I don't remember any of that.
Ask for the things that we wanted. But I don't remember. I know, but that's also mostly from the recordings, that when we were small, the presents were kind of excessive. Like there was a lot of them, but it was also because it was a lot of us. Like my grandparents would get something, and my parents would gift each other something. So it was a lot of stuff under the tree. And for my sister and me, it would be usually something from like a toy from my parents, and then something from the grandparents on my dad's side, and then maybe if it was like, I don't know, godparents or aunts and uncles who dropped off something. But yeah, I do know that it was like for Marti, it was mostly cars, and then I would ask for dolls for a long time, and then she asked for a doll one year, and then she never played with it. So we still have it.
A safe one for you then.
It was humongous, yeah. And then later on, when I already knew that it's my parents, but I still had to pretend for Marti's sake, so then there were like a couple of those years when it was this weird in-between. And then when she also found out, then we started decorating the tree all together, but there was, like when we were both teenagers already.
So when was that transition, and do you remember, has it been unveiled by your parents, or how did you find out that there is no angel?
I don't know. I don't remember that. I must have been like 12 or so, but I don't remember how I found out. I don't remember ever talking about it with my parents or Marti. I don't even know how then my parents realized that we both know now, so we can just move on to doing it all together. So yeah, those things like the details I don't really remember. I also don't know when we started decorating the tree together, but I must have been already in high school or university or so.
Wow.
Maybe high school. Because Marta is like 4 years younger, yeah. So if she was 12, yeah, or so.
True.
And then we also had, of course, a lot more snow back then, so we would also go out on the hills with the sleighs and stuff. Although I always hated those kind of things, like I was too scared. I never really had fun with it. But,
oh really? No,
yeah.
I remember we had some snow when I was small in Berlin as well. When I was really small, I think when I was 10, 12, there was mainly slush on snow. But when there was real snow, then we would also take the sleighs up, and we had like smaller hills around where I lived, and would take them down. That was big fun. It was really something. Also, I remember I got some skis at one point, and I remember I've used them once. I don't know if an accident happened or whatever. I don't remember that I've used them after that at all. No.
Someone took them away. But yeah, I think that's like something that people don't really know or realize about you, that when you were small there was like the pre-wall.
Oh yeah, it was the communist era.
Yeah.
True.
So I think it was also like very different times in terms of what your parents could actually get as presents.
Yeah, what they could afford also as well. But that also happened afterwards. So the question of what can parents afford was always a big question mark. And my parents were never well situated or well off after the end of communism. And that was also something they put a lot of effort into avoid us children to realize that. I got to know that. So it took me a couple of years. I think I was already 14, 15 when I realized that there was a big struggle financially, and then my parents actually put the cards on the table and we talked about that openly. That was a very different thing. But back then, like for example, we had that discussion about St. Nicholas the other day, and what happened to the time when we as children just got oranges and apples and nuts and fruits, like literally like as main present for St. Nicholas. And that's not really a thing anymore today. At least that's what I feel, and that has been a tradition for a long time with us. That was not really a thing about small presents or small gifts. At least I don't really remember any of those. I remember unpacking a lot of, yes, small chocolate, small candies, but mainly oranges and nuts. And when you peeled the clementine the other morning, that's for me like the feel of Christmas. When you have the smell of oranges, of mandarins, nectarines, whatever, that's the smell of Christmas for me. That was always a thing. It was not really out of season before Christmas or after Christmas. You would never really have that. It was also really difficult to get in Eastern Germany, and you would really save that for Christmas. And that was really a thing that fills my heart with joy when you smell that. It's like, yeah, that's Christmas.
Yeah, for St. Nicholas, I also don't remember ever getting like toys. It was always fruits and sweets, and we would clean our boots and then put them out in the window.
Oh, not so much in the window, where I was in front of the door. But it was really a thing, like a tradition, both in kindergarten or in elementary school and at home. You would do it like separately, but would do it all together. It was really nice.
Okay, should we check out the questions?
Sure. No, I'm curious.
Do you have any current Christmas traditions that Henry brought into your family?
I think we did a few things over the years, but nothing that really turned into a tradition. I remember we did the duck 1 year with friends. We did sushi, I think 2 years with friends.
I mean, I feel like that's something that my mom then also remembers, that you like the red cabbage. Mm-hmm. So she...
That's true. That's also last year we did that. She asked me to do it actually. Yeah, that's true. Yeah. But other than that, I think we don't really have that. I think the only Christmas tradition we have is that we spend time for ourselves before we head over to your parents, for example.
Yeah, but that's the thing, right? That like this is our, what is it? Fourth Christmas together.
Yeah.
Yeah. And each and every one of them was different, because like in the first
scenario.
year, the first year was after COVID. We were poor.
It was during COVID actually.
Yeah. Like we had no money.
Did we have a tree? I'm not even sure.
Yeah, that was the tree that Frida constantly tried to pull down the
white snowflakes.
Yeah, the snowflakes one. It was like a big tree standing there.
Yeah.
But other than that, the living room was fairly empty because we had...
It was empty for quite a while.
Yeah, we barely had any furniture. Yeah. So that was the first one. And the second one...
I was in Antarctica.
We both were. Yeah, the second one we spent in Antarctica. Then the third one...
I remember some nice pictures from that Christmas party we had in the bar.
Yeah. Yeah, but then...
we did a secret Santa with the expedition team there.
That's true.
Yeah, that was nice.
Yeah, that was different. But there was a lot of snow.
There was a lot of snow, indeed.
And then the third one was last year when Leo was a baby.
Yeah, that was also like the very first time that we really had like a family thing, and everything was just scheduled around him, basically.
Yeah, and that was when... But something doesn't add up, because this is our third potted Christmas tree.
It's the fifth Christmas we had together. We're 2020 we had together. 21, 22, 23, 24.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it's the fifth. There's one missing.
Yeah, the third one then it was not with Leo. One was... Oh no, the third one I was pregnant and you were gone for like half of the holidays. Like you were not home for New Year's. I was also
in Antarctica, exactly, and I had the mid-season break for Christmas, and they scheduled a flight for me leaving on Christmas Eve. That was stupid. And then I just paid my own flight on the 25th, I think. So we had Christmas Eve, but then the next day I needed to leave. Yeah.
Yeah, that was a short one, I know. Yeah, like you were home for Christmas, but then you were not here for the New Year's. Yeah, yes. That's when I was pregnant, and then last year was with Leo, and then now... again, but then it also kind of changes with when we decorate the Christmas tree. Like
we haven't really found a set date for that.
No.
But I think what we discussed this year to have it as a kind of tradition to get the tree for St. Nicholas and have it in there. I know a lot of people are, at least on my end, commenting, "Wow, you have a tree already." I find it a waste to just have it for like a week or something. So if you invest in a tree and we want to really have something, then at least I really enjoy having it around, and it fills the house with a very different atmosphere and a very different mood. And just coming down in the mornings, having this nice, warm, fuzzy feeling here in the living room is just really something
nice. And I would much rather have it longer in December, because then in January I'm like kind of in a moving on phase, and then
let's get over it.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, okay, it's over.
Well, that's also one tradition we have at home, that the Christmas tree would stay until the 19th of January, which is the birthday of my mom. So that would stay until then, and after her birthday we would get rid of the Christmas tree.
I think in like the Hungarian custom is to keep it until the 7th.
Okay.
I think that's when vízkereszt is. But I'm not sure. I know that my parents took it down fairly early. But yeah, it also depends on how well the tree is doing, because if it's just like losing a ton of needles, then there's no point of keeping it any longer.
For example, for the time I was living in Iceland, I never celebrated Christmas properly because I was always working. So I would rather allow colleagues with families to just take the holidays off and just stay home, and I would just work and have groups showing around the country.
Yeah.
Which were also the funniest kind of trips. People avoiding Christmas.
But people are also in a different mood then.
But then the funny thing is, when you're as a guide taking groups around Christmas, then there are traditional Christmas meals in the guide rooms in the back of petrol stations or on the destinations wherever you stop. And I remember there used to be on the Golden Circle in Iceland, where you have Geysir, Gullfoss and Þingvellir. There was always a run to be at lunchtime at Gullfoss at the waterfall, because that was like an old school guy doing the menu and an old school guy preparing an old school lunch, and all the drivers, all the guides wanted to be there for lunch, and that was really nice.
The next question is about food, and like what the traditional Christmas meals were, and if it was like something similar every year.
Yeah, it would be like a very standard Christmas thing. You know, we would have usually for the New Year's Eve for dinner, usually a potato salad. And
New Year's?
For Christmas Eve, sorry, yeah. Probably also for New Year's Eve.
Yeah, for us it was a New Year's thing. Like we would always have Yoshi for New Year's.
Yeah, that's a different story. That developed them differently. But when I was small, it probably also would be a thing there as well. But no, that wasn't. Christmas Eve was visually in potato salad, and then Christmas Day would be like roasted duck, red cabbage, and dumplings, potato dumplings. And then on Boxing Day, it would be usually some sort of leftovers from that big feast. And I remember my mom telling a story that she was traumatized by her dad was really difficult when it came to food and made everyone eating up and finishing and stuff. And one year they had so much that they couldn't, and they just put it in the pan on the balcony, and overnight it snowed and they forgot about it. And then in spring, when the snow melted, they found the roaster on the balcony. They were really happy about not having to eat that.
Oh my god.
But yeah, that would be our traditional Christmas. And one thing was really nice, having those calm and long breakfasts in the morning. Like, that was really nice, family breakfasts.
For us, I don't even know. Like, I want to say it was like mayonnaise crumpli. With veggie salad, like the schnitzels and the paprika. Like that's what I remember as a festive meal, but I don't know if that was like every Christmas or if it's just in my memory because it's something that I really got to like. And then of course there was always, like, if not on the 24th, then on the 25th or the 26th, but at one point there would be töltött káposzta, obviously. That's like a and then at my grandma's, there would also always be schnitzel as well. And then
on the 24th, when you were waiting for...
No, on the 25th, when we went over there to the...
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, for the presents there.
Yeah. And I think she also made like soup then, so it might have been like a whole... Yeah, I think that was like a whole thing then, like we went over for lunch and then stayed for dinner. And then sometimes my cousins would stay for the night, and then we would try to convince my parents to...
for you to stay overnight as well?
Yeah. And then obviously because there weren't so many beds, my grandma would just put down like very thick duvets on the floor, and then we would just like all sleep in a row like sardines. And then, and then there we would always watch Home Alone on the telly.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that was a thing. Then the telly would always be turned on at a point, and then we would watch Home Alone.
That was interesting because on the 25th, there used to be, like from communist time, a TV program which is called Between Breakfast and Roasted Goose, something like that. And there would be like an entertainment program with like comedians hosting, and then some music and stuff. And there would be a call for, and now you have to put the goose into the oven if it should be ready in due time. and that stayed on. So that was a program that lasted for quite some time, and that would be a rerun on Eastern German TV networks then at that time. So that was one of the programs I remember. And then in the mornings of the 25th and the 26th, there would be cartoons, American cartoons, which we would then watch. And in the evenings, there would be, usually there's this TV event, blah, blah, blah. On every channel would just highlight some blockbuster movies or whatever. And we would usually watch a Terence Hill and Spencer movie.
Yeah, but food-wise, I don't really remember, like, Bagley, for example, was not a thing for us, or gingerbread was not a thing for us.
Yeah, that was a big thing for us. Yeah, I mean, gingerbread is kind of I'm not even sure if it's a German invention, but it's a really German thing.
But you also have like the Lebkuchen and the Dominoes and all those things that your parents are still sending.
We're very grateful for that. Very yummy Dominoes, or huge ones.
Yeah, or that we look for in Lidl. Yeah,
Stollen, for example, is there's a Christmas bread, a sweet bread with raisins. That's like the basic bread, and then you would add marzipan or other things in there as well. And my favorite is the marzipan version of that. And my parents also still send that over, even though we now also know that Lidl and Kaufland is also selling that here. And yeah, that's a kind of a very rich tradition for us. So Stollen, I think it starts somewhere, and you can buy it as early as end of August or so, literally when Easter stops. And for us it was always a December thing to have Stollen there in the afternoons when you have tea and coffee and cake. Then instead of cake it would be Christmas Stollen, and then obviously Lebkuchen and stuff like that.
Yeah. Then someone is asking how you took the Transylvanian traditions.
What tradition?
I mean, yeah, like it's not like there's anything.
It's not so different.
Yeah.
So you also have a fairly simple meal on the 24th, because it's mainly the presenting of the gifts and the unwrapping and the unpacking. And on the 25th you have like this big family lunch, and then it's like a continuous feast.
Yes.
Exactly. Your parents usually invite us also for breakfast, and then we have breakfast together, and we try to avoid eating too much at breakfast because you already anticipate
lunch.
It will be too much at lunch.
Yeah.
And then you basically try to squeeze in a walk to be able to cope with dinner, and that happens on the 26th as well. But that's also the same thing in Germany. So you have a very similar structure of the holidays, but different meals or different, fairly similar. I don't know.
Yeah, but like the basics are the same, like 3 presents, eating. We don't really go to church. I mean, my parents do, but we don't. So really? Yeah, someone was asking also how our perfect Christmas day would look like.
Oh God, my perfect Christmas day, I have to tell you, from my perspective, would be in a faraway cottage, somewhere in the mountains, a lot of snow around, some deer on the porch, and a nice Christmas tree in the corner, a fireplace on the opposite side, and then a handful of presents underneath, and then just spending literally a calm day just with you and Leo.
Yeah, I also like my perfect Christmas day would also definitely have a lot of snow and the Christmas tree and like some nice warm lights and some music.
Yeah.
And yeah, just spending it together and not having to rush anywhere and just enjoying each other's company. Other than that, I don't really care where we are.
A lot of books would be involved. Like reading, like laying down, spending time reading. Yeah.
And playing with Leo.
Yeah. In the snow.
Oh yeah, there's one.
Snowman.
Yeah, but there's one thing which used to be quintessential part not only of Christmas but like the whole holiday season for us was playing board games like throughout the whole winter, and that kind of. That's
something I really enjoy. Like, what we haven't had that in the past year since Leo. Since Leo's here. But that was something I really enjoyed here over winter time, having a lot of board games. We had a few board games, not as many as we have here, and we don't really have a lot. Your parents have even more, but I'm not sure. So like the combination of all of them makes it probably feel more. But I remember we play a lot of Monopoly. And then my memory already fades. So that's like, the only board game I really remember is Monopoly.
Yeah, but in the also since you have moved here in the previous years, we played a lot also with my parents or with my sister.
And we invested a lot of money in board games. We had a lot of board games. I mean, upstairs.
And now they are just bored somewhere.
Yeah, they are board games. That's like a 10 lane.
Okay, what else? Do we have anything that was not such a good memory from this period, from our childhood?
Like the trauma of not getting the present, which I eventually still got. No, I don't. The human brain is a miracle in terms of if you have a bad memory, you would usually cave it somewhere. And I don't remember lots of my childhood, particularly around Christmas. So I assume that everything went fine.
Sure, that's why you blocked it out. Because it was also rosy.
No, I mean the memories I have are really nice and I cherish them. I don't remember many things, but also I don't remember much of my childhood. So it's just really, there was a lot that happened afterwards, and when I was a teenager, and I don't remember what I had for breakfast yesterday. So it's not necessarily a testimony for the psyche, it's more testimony for me being not very good at memorizing things.
I can't really remember any big negative thing from my childhood. I do remember later on when we started decorating the tree together that could turn into a fight.
Oh yeah, because someone has an idea and then you put it, don't put it there.
Yeah, exactly, like how it's supposed to be and is it perfect enough or not. But other than that, I think everyone would just try to be on their best behavior and just be the nicest.
But that usually leads to the whole opposite, because everybody tries very hard and then it would escalate. But would you have the same Christmas tree year after year, or would you have themes? I remember we had like 2 or 3 different sets of decoration, and that would be just alternating, and it would be a golden year or a purple year or I think a silver year. I think that was the 3 things we were alternating.
No, I think we had the same Christmas decorations for like the first 10 years of my life, and then my parents bought new ones, and then they used those ones for like 10 years, and then they bought new ones, and then they are using that now for, so it wasn't like a lot of mix and matching. There was at a point when we were already decorating the trees together, that like 1 or 2 years when I was really into making natural decorations, so we would do everything together with Marty, like hanging popcorn up and just drying fruits and stuff. So when I still lived at home, we did that like 1 or 2 years.
Which we also did with, I think, our second Christmas tree. Had a lot of natural decoration.
Yeah. Well, the first one too, because we just didn't have money for actual globes and stuff. Yeah, which I also liked. Mm-hmm. But I also enjoyed just collecting mismatched decorations. Right now, I'm not so much into the shiny, sparkly globes things. No offense if someone likes that, but I enjoy the more natural materials.
I also like the handicraft stuff, like we have those cut wood and
like
those
the
ornaments,
paper
ornaments, exactly, like those kind of things. They're really nice.
I mean, a lot of our decoration is now also handmade, just not by me.
Yeah.
But that also came from, like last year, I didn't have time, and then 2 years ago, I think I just didn't have energy with the belly. And there was also the period, and I will remember this from the vlogs, that you were not home and Frida was sick, and then I was super stressed out. Yeah,
I don't recall that because I wasn't here.
You weren't. Yeah, but I was super stressed then, and then my sister would take us to the vet when she was just like sitting in the pots and trying to pee
Plant
there.
pots,
Yeah.
Oh, she's still alive.
She's alive and kicking. Favorite Christmas taste, smell, drink?
Orange. Smell oranges, absolutely. Taste, red cabbage. Homemade red cabbage, I think. It's like the feeling of the tongue of potato dumplings. That's just actually something, the soft but still firm, difficult to describe, potato dumpling. That's really something I connect with Christmas. And drink, thanks to my time in Iceland, is malt or appelsin. Like malt is like a malt beer, like a non-alcoholic malt soda drink, and appelsin is like the Fanta version of Icelandic breweries, and it's 2 super sweet things mixed together, and that's a full meal. It's just so heavy, but it's like a children's drink in Iceland for Christmas, and I really enjoyed that. The mix of flavors is really nice.
I don't really think I have any of those, just because I feel like we don't really have those things anymore that you can only get at that one point of the year, or for example with the oranges or the clementines, we buy them all year round. So it is different when you open them around Christmas. They are also much more fragrant, I feel, but
because it's
just
their season.
Yeah, but it's just not the same. But there are like, for example, chocolates, which when we were kids thought that they are fancy chocolates, like Merci, for example. And like when I see Merci now, I still have this like, ooh, festive. But other than that, I mean, with the drinks, mulled wine, but that came much later, and I don't really drink alcohol anymore.
That's for me a Christmas market thing.
Yeah.
Like going on a Christmas market and having the smell of mulled wine. That's certainly something.
And you were talking about the caramelized apples for us.
Yes, candy apples. Yes, like caramelized and chocolatized apples. That's a Christmas market thing for me for Christmas. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, but other than that, for example, also the foods, like we had festive foods, but they were not really Christmas foods, so they would also make them for like other festive occasions. So for me, there aren't really. I mean, smells, yes, like for example the traditional Christmas cookie, spices.
Baking cookies prior to Christmas, that's also something. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, like cardamom and
we weren't that fancy.
And those things. I mean, that's also not from my childhood for me, but just I did later on. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and then of course the smell of the Christmas tree.
That's pretty awesome to have those questions. Also memorizing bits and pieces of that and just putting it together again.
Yeah, just recalling things. Mm-hmm. What does Christmas mean to us?
That has changed a lot over the years, and when I was living in Iceland, it didn't mean anything to me except for it was a red holiday which paid double. So for me that was literally a working day, and a well-paid working day, and gave me the opportunity to also give back to colleagues with families, to just let them have time with family. I didn't have family myself. COVID has changed that a lot. I feel like I really started cherishing the time we have together with that, and with a small one now, it's a family thing really for me. Trying to also make him appreciate that it's not only about the presents, but it's mainly about having all family available and as close together as possible, which also is kind of a difficult thing to make that something special, because he has that fairly regular. I mean, he spends a lot of time with your parents, which I really appreciate. He really loves his great-grandmothers. So that family tie is already there, but just having that in a festive way and just being really able to appreciate that, I think that takes a while for a child to be able to comprehend. But for me, that's my sense of Christmas really, is having that festive environment where we find out like all of the job, all of the obligations, and just center us around ourselves and just the families.
Yeah, it's the same for us. It's a time for family and being together and just being calm and quiet and eating and playing. And also like the religious aspect is not really present for us. I mean, I do believe in God, but I'm not religious, so the whole Jesus being born at Christmas part of the holiday is kind of lost on us. But I am curious how that's gonna develop with Leo when he goes to school, and then he will learn about those things at a point, and if he will be curious about it. We also haven't really decided yet what we are gonna tell him about, like Saint Nicholas or Christmas, like how much of the magic we want to keep and how much of it we wanna tell him, like who's gonna bring the Christmas presents, for example, if he's just gonna know it that it's us, or if he just
there's a difference of who buys it and who brings it. So I think I read something about that the other day, where a mom was just saying it's unfair if you tell your kids that Santa Claus is responsible for getting all the presents, and then the kid is asking, but why does the kid in my class gets an iPad and I just get a toy car? Why is there such a big difference of the value of the toys? And we also have just to acknowledge and appreciate the different incomes families have. So I feel like being fair, saying, okay, mom and dad are buying the presents, but Santa Claus or the angel or whoever it eventually is the one collecting it and bringing it at a point in time. But it's really difficult to plan something like that. Also, he's asking a lot of questions. I'm not sure for how long he will be believing in something like that, even though we call it magic. But you also tackled another aspect of spirituality and religion, and I feel like that's a very different kind of thing. And that's like the magic of Christmas for me, is that you are spiritual about the time. I mean, just having the spirit of Christmas when everything calms down, settles, and gets warm and cozy, and you really are in the core family, and then you try to extend it over Christmas Day and Boxing Day to the wider family. I feel like that's the core of Christmas, is just embracing that spirituality, and it's not about religion for me. It never has been. Still being curious about all those stories, but for him that's also something he has to explore over the years when he grows older, when he just figures out, does he believe in any type of religion? Does he want to pursue that? Does he want to indulge in that? Or is he just following as a free spirit whatever he thinks? I feel like that's a character question for him as well.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of feel sad about him missing out on those things, like the whole being part of a larger community and going to church to recite the poems, and then what we had with my cousins. But then on the other hand, so far, whenever we did try to include him in those things, he was just not really into it. Like when we took him to the festivities around the harvest,
End of harvest,
yeah, the Sureti Bál, and then also on the 5th now, in the kindergarten, they had St. Nicholas coming, and he kind of hated both of those things.
But he's also fairly young, and he's also not used to have big groups around him. He's always getting kind of anxious when a lot of people and there's a lot of noise involved.
Exactly.
So he's very sensitive in that respect, and maybe that changes over the years. And I also think that the church here in the village, for example, is an open space. I don't feel they would close the doors if we want him to partake in those activities and let him try, because for them it's also a chance of getting a new member at a point if he decides on that. But we had the discussion around the end of harvest ball, or no, it was an activity here. It was here in our cultural place. The kids were showing some traditional dances and stuff, and you were saying that would be sad, or you think it's sad that he's not part of the community. I think he is part of the community, and it's his decision at a point if he wants to participate in those folklore dance groups or whatever. It's not on us. We can just introduce him to those things. It's just like a door opener, and he has to decide if he is interested in that, if he wants to do that or not, as it is for every other child as well. But I feel like we should aim for that also for Christmas, like going to the lighting of the Advent candle, which is also a churchill ceremony here in the village, but for me it doesn't matter who's responsible for it. Having that as well, and just introducing him to those kind of traditions, and then let him decide if he wants to pursue that or not.
Yeah, exactly. I think that's kind of it with the questions.
Thank you for all the questions. That was really nice.
Yeah, it's nice to recall those things. I have to also ask my parents to look up the recordings again. It would be fun.
You want to put that into the video?
I thought about it, but I don't know if I can, because we haven't digitalized them yet. But it would be fun to also to show them to Leo. I'm curious how
if he identifies you.
Yeah, like if he understands who those people are. Yeah. Yeah, but another nice thing about this period is also the people who live abroad coming home.
Yeah.
Like, we are really looking forward to my sister coming home, and then my friend Julia is gonna visit us.
That has become kind of a Christmas tradition, or like a post-Christmas tradition as well. That, between Christmas and New Year, she's visiting us.
Yeah, exactly.
At a point, and Leo is really into her, and just really a nice setting when she's coming as well. Yeah.
Yeah, and then there are these gatherings, like every year we have a meeting, like a class reunion.
Oh yeah, it's also coming up.
Yeah, which is also usually between the holidays. So it's just a season of getting together with people who you might not see so much of otherwise. And it will also be 2.5 or almost 3 weeks of no kindergarten, so that's gonna...
Challenge accepted.
It's gonna be interesting. I think that will be like the longest time.
But I feel like he enjoys the time, like the last couple of days we spend a lot of time with him also because he was sick. But he really enjoys having us both around, not necessarily actively involved in his playing, but just having us around. In the moment one of us goes around the corner, he starts calling for that person, mainly you, but sometimes also for me. And yeah, that's really something I embrace a lot right now.
Yeah. Okay, well, thank you for doing...
Oh, thank you for having me.
this video.
No, thank you for all the questions. It was really nice to digging the crates for all those memories.
Yeah. And yeah, thank you for being here, and I will see you soon in another video. Sziasztok!
Sziasztok!
But when did you... I'm blacking out.
I can see that.
Do you have any Maybe I should have translated this first.